He had to take a moment to breathe. It was almost as if all of the last 7 years of his life had been but a flash, leading up to this very moment. In his hand, a small picture of his wife and his children. Warmth hugged his heart. It felt like the only warmth in the world. They didn't know he was out there. They had no idea. He kept telling himself it was for their protection. The familiar hand of fear groped his heart as his mind weaved fabrications of their shock, of their horror, of their confusion. But he had to suppress it. They would know in due time. They would benefit from this. In an attempt to keep the fear at bay, he brought himself back through his journey. The reason he was there. Outside of his windscreen, a younger figure of him stood, berated by his helicopter parents. Couldn't stand extreme emotion. Isolated, mostly, apart from his few good friends. Over time, his friend count fluctuated, from having loads of acquaintances, to a few fast friends, to one, to none. His parents never relented. Swinging from one ideology to the other as if it was a pendulum, he swayed himself into a pit of existential despair. No matter what he did, or who he conformed to, he received the same isolation, the same hassle from his parents, the same fear. Confusion stormed inside of him. Nothing he did seemed good enough. Each new way of life only appeased him for a moment, for a flash, before it was clear nothing actually changed. The cycle kept repeating itself. He grew to resent such things, to resent the way society was built, only to keep him down. Rage swelled inside of him, combating the fear. He squeezed his eyes shut. When he opened them again, he was met by the memory of that one day. He was scrolling through social media, as he did every night. He saw a stranger make a statement about the inherent collapse of society as they knew it. He opened the user's profile to be met with more like-minded people. A whole society of people who spoke out against their backwards society. Jokes, posts, comments, rationales, facts and figures were plastered everywhere, not just in their profiles, but in group chats. It was easy to join one. At first he was only intrigued. Some of the posts were funny, and some of the evidence presented was interesting and undeniable, so he didn't bother to look further into the matters. After only a few months, and his world had changed. The world was in anarchy. With his phone as a lens, he saw his world slowly crumble. Whenever he walked out in public, he saw the connections. Outsiders and strangers had transformed into exactly what the others had been talking about. He couldn't believe how right they were. Finally some sense, some explanation to the confusion of society. He saw the cracks now. He wasn't troubled or confused as a kid. He was a victim. And the worst thing? Everyone either didn't notice, or didn't care, or defended those who were carefully unpicking the planet as if to devour it. He gripped his steering wheel. He had parked in a secluded spot. No one would see him. His rage had morphed into purpose. Finally something bigger than him to work towards. It all made sense. What felt like peace comforted his heart, and what felt like purpose steeled his nerves. Someone had to make a stand. Someone had to show the world how wrong it was for people like him to correct it. Only a few had resisted society's grip, so the opposition was expected. He would set the world free. But first he had to expose the pain that the victims of society felt every day. He looked out of the window, pulled on his glove and mask, picked up his gun. He left his car.